10 years from now, what will you regret doing way too much of?
Interviews.
If you could resurrect one person from history and put them in the world today, who would it be?
Chris.
So how do you deal with stress?
Not very well.
The courtroom testimony of Sean Diddy Combs' federal trial is what you are about to hear. Verbatim, Jennifer Lawrence has never before been listed as a sealed federal witness because of what she witnessed, what she almost became a part of, and what she refused to keep quiet about, even when it was safer to do so. Her identity has been safeguarded up to this point, not only because she is famous. The evidence starts with a handwritten, ripped letter dated 2012, not a contract or an NDA. To whoever is pulling the strings, this is your last warning, the title says. I refuse to be the next Cassie, I refuse to be bought, and I refuse to vanish. When she wrote that, she was 22 years old. Even Cassie's case had not yet been filed. Judge, you can start with your own words, Ms. Lawrence. I received an invitation to a Beverly Hills private event. I was informed that it was a film, branding, development, and creatives only charity event for young performers. I was told as a child that I would be among the fortunate few. However, I was bait and not lucky. She said a black SUV without license plates was driving her. At the entrance, her phone was confiscated and she was asked to sign a release without being informed of its purpose. I thought it was for a panel or pictures, but it wasn't. Red lights, dim halls, men in suits, women wearing masks, no cameras. The room went cold. She was asked to clarify if any of these women were familiar by the prosecutor. Jennifer gave a nod. One of them, I will not name her, was an actress. However, she was well known and afraid. They insisted it was only a game, she added. I was under no obligation to take part. However, I discovered that nobody was permitted to leave early after the door closed. You simply grinned. You did your part. You also prayed that you would not find yourself in the incorrect room. She reported seeing a door with a number rather than a name written on it. One girl left crying and the other one never returned. I kept asking myself, is this it? Do the stories originate here? A sealed report, Exhibit 17A, was presented by the prosecution. According to Jennifer's team, she was in shock when she returned from that night and had symptoms of trauma and dissociation. In 2012, she took a brief break from the media. After her breakthrough performance in the Hunger Games, it was publicly attributed to tiredness. I was sleep deprived for 3 days. I kept imagining that corridor, that odor, that noise. I can still hear it sometimes. And then it happened, the moment that froze the courtroom. Not in the legal sense. Jennifer was questioned if she had seen any criminal activity, but ethically, yes. Among the girls, one appeared younger than I was. I inquired about her identity. She is only here for training, he said, as if she were a thing, as if she did not exist at all. She was given permission by the prosecution to read aloud from her initial letter, which was sent that same week. I am not interested in cars. The contract is not something I want. With nice lighting, I do not want to be someone's puppet. I wish to stay in this field. That is all. If she wanted to pause, the judge inquired. Jennifer gave a headshake. Number, because who I am is irrelevant. Notoriety does not shield you. No one is famous in such rooms. You can be replaced or you can be useful. The jurors did not say anything. For the record, the clerk made one last entry. The delivery of this testimony was sealed. All interviews with the media have been declined by Ms. Lawrence. This is all she has to say. Jennifer's shaking voice, the transcript, and the letter were not merely pieces of proof. They served as a warning. Jennifer was given a glass of water by the judge. She left it alone. The prosecutor's tone sharpened as he resumed. They said that the events that followed took place 5 years after the Beverly Hills Gala. Silence for 5 years. She pretended to be all right for 5 years. Did anyone from Mr. Combs' group get in touch with you again following the initial incident, Ms. Lawrence? Jennifer gave a slow nod. Yes, the vibe was the same in 2017, but the people were different. She clarified that she started getting invitations through branded ads, panel appearances, networking retreats, and indirect avenues following the enormous popularity of the Hunger Games and her Oscar victory for Silver Linings Playbook. One was particularly noticeable. Through Jennifer's former publicist, a lady called Ariel D, who was identified as a creative liaison, contacted her over encrypted email. We are organizing a retreat for innovative female artists, hosted by Sean Love Combs. Santa Ana's off-grid, no press, just tranquility, the invitation said. Ariel did not let it go, but Jennifer said no. Jennifer's phone rang a week later. The phone number was blocked. She replied, "The reason I picked it up is still a mystery to me. Perhaps I was interested. Perhaps I was looking for closure." Ariel was the name of the woman who answered the phone. Under oath, Jennifer verified the call. "It is not like last time. she said. The home has vanished. The tunnels are closed down. This has to do with rebirth. There was a gasp in the room. Judge, order. She was requested to elaborate by the prosecutor. By tunnels. What did she mean? Did you ever bring them up in public? Jennifer gave a headshake. Nobody was aware that I had spotted the hallway. The second room, the padded one, was unknown. I had remained silent, not even to my relatives. How did she know then? Ariel's voice sounded serene, she said, too composed, as if she were reading a screenplay she had not written. You do not have to do anything you do not feel comfortable doing, she assured me. Simply show up. Go through. All he needs is that. I ended the call. She informed her legal team about the call. They told her not to go for it. On the set of Mother, however, she discovered something inside her trailer the following day. A letter. No address for return. A copy of her 2012 original unsigned NDA was within. The word reminder was scrawled across the front in red ink, and her name was printed at the top. I was devastated by that. The statement was, "We are still observing. The story is still ours." She made a new entry in her private journal, Exhibit 17E, but she kept it a secret. Send this letter if I disappear. It was no coincidence. The red room was where it all began. This is where it ends. There was no movement in the courtroom. Even the defense was silent for a moment. The prosecutor then leaned closer. Ms. Lawrence? Prosecutor, have you ever thought about going public? Yes. Cassie claimed to have heard rumors of a settlement, films, and a vault shortly after she vanished from the media in 2021. I began to make connections, not only what occurred to me, but also what nearly happened to Cassie, Aubrey, and even a member of my team. No one moved when the judge called for a 5-minute recess because what Jennifer had just explained involved infrastructure, not just fear. She was never to speak again, and the system was a silent machine. The prosecutor changed direction when the court reconvened. The inquiries concerning rooms, calls, and NDAs had stopped. They were now about humans, particularly other people who were aware. Did someone else in the public eye ever notice your silence, prosecutor, Ms. Lawrence? Indirectly even? Jennifer gave a nod. Yes, once, at the Oscars in 2019. She remembered being approached by an unnamed actress who was older than her at a supper held after the event. They had never collaborated before. They were hardly acquainted. Gently, she drew me away. I saw your name once, I just said. On a list. Just be mindful of who is still observing. She was requested to identify the woman by the court. Jennifer said no. She was also afraid. It was not pushed by the prosecutor. Rather, they presented Exhibit 17G, a private phone photo taken by Jennifer in April 2022. It displayed a handwritten mail that had been left at her door. No name, not a word, only one flash drive with tape attached to the inside. Jennifer did not connect it. She gave it to her legal counsel. They verified that the flash disk was empty. However, a tabloid photographer who had snapped unapproved pictures of Jennifer at a private event vanished 2 weeks later. Vanished into thin air. About that incident, I had not posted anything. It was not recorded, private. However, someone was aware of my whereabouts. In the hills close to Mulholland Drive, the photographer's phone once pings. Later on, it was located. Screen shattered. Take out the battery. The case remains unresolved. It was Jennifer's first time breaking her voice. I did not want to make the connection. I was unwilling to accept it. But what if I was being tested with the flash drive? What if I did not comply and someone else suffered the consequences? The judge informed the audience that while conjecture is permitted, it will not be recorded. The need to hold on emotionally. The prosecutor then made another introduction. An internal memo from a now defunct entertainment PR agency connected to Combs Global was leaked, as shown in Exhibit 17H. Earlier this year, the document was found during a federal data sweep. Reactive communication strategies for claims of young talent were listed. In a censored line was Jennifer's name. It stated that my impulses for brand protection made me unlikely to escalate, as if I were predictable, as if I was too preoccupied with maintaining my own image to ever speak up. She inhaled. They were correct. For a time, I said nothing. I grinned. I kept my reservation, but it has been 10 years since I slept well. At the segment's last reveal, Jennifer acknowledged receiving a hush money offer. Not in those exact words. However, yes, wires were present, fees for consulting, brand deals that contain clauses. Every time I instructed my guys to walk. Prosecutor, and did you think you were alone? Number, I believe there are more. A few who entered. Some people never left. No more remarks were permitted by the judge. But there was no need for the space. It was because one thing was made very evident by Jennifer's statements. She had not simply run away. She had lived through a still operating machine. And now, at last, a record has been hit. The next inquiry from the prosecutor was direct. Prosecutor, do you know anything about the property at 11 Star Island Drive in Miami, Mississippi? Lawrence. Yes. Jennifer paused. Yes then, once I was there. Briefly, she explained that she was asked to a tiny exclusive after party in 2014 while on a Hunger Games promotional trip making fun of Jay by a streaming executive. The place, Star Island, a private home. She got there at about 11 o'clock. There was not much music. The illumination, red. Trays of white wine and covered drinks were available. Upon arrival, phone bags were distributed. It was a wind down, I was told, that it would only be music executives and press. It did not feel like press though, it was staged. Jennifer was led into a room with a marble bar, 4 leather seats, and a wall of mirrors that were tinted from behind. She left quickly. I was identified by one of the women. "You do not belong here, my love," she said, leaning over, and it was sufficient. She departed prior to midnight. However, she discovered something waiting for her in her dressing room a few days later while on the X-Men Apocalypse press tour. A message. Handwritten, inside the sleeve of a leather jacket that the studio's wardrobe department gave her. She kept it to herself. She did, however, keep the note. It said there were 3 cameras in the room. Above the mirror was 1. "Do not tell your team anything." Exhibit 18A, a scan of the note written by Jennifer and timestamped by her assistant, was shown by the court. Then the prosecution turned its attention. "Prosecutor, ever catch a glimpse of anything? Any footage from that evening?" Jennifer lowered her voice. "Not that evening. However, a clip was present." The court ceased to speak. Someone had it on their laptop, a representative who had previously worked for a streaming agency and Diddy's marketing team. "There was no label on the clip," she stated, "just kept in a folder called Event No IDs. Perhaps 12 seconds passed. No faces. However, I knew the room, the mirror, the central chair." She informed her attorney about it. Later, the laptop was cleaned. Days later, the representative quit. The defense raised an objection. Unconfirmed information. Hearsay. Judge. Sustained. Noted, however. Jennifer got teary-eyed. "I have no idea what that video was. I have no idea who was in it. However, I was aware that I had seen it. Because my trailer was broken into 2 weeks later, nothing was taken. Just reorganized." She hesitated. "That is all. As soon as I understood, this was not a coincidence. In 2012, there was more than one party. Everything was interconnected. Cameras were present. Files were present. Some people were aware of it." Prosecutors shut their notebooks. One last query for this section. "Why did you come forth at last?" Jennifer replied, "Since I saw the word trafficking within the indictment. Cassie was not the only one. I knew I may have been the one." Recess was called by the judge. "It was not for the media. No cameras were present, just the document. Prosecutors do not waste time." Prosecutor, Ms. Lawrence, do you now think that any public actions that were presented as constructive were actually a part of a larger attempt to silence or control you? Jennifer responded right away, "Yes. An organization I had never heard of nominated me for a Creative Empowerment Award in March 2023. The Combs Foundation is the sponsor. It didn't, but she turned down the invitation." Stop there. A press draft complimenting me was sent to me. They had drafted the speech before I had even verified it. It said that I was grateful to Diddy for supporting up-and-coming artists. I never stated those things. A pre-written PR release from a boutique firm that was discovered in her assistant's spam folder was presented as Exhibit 18F. It was a phony quote. The award was no exception. Jennifer announced in a statement that she would not be going. The tale was forgotten. No one inquired as to why I backed out in less than 48 hours. Nobody followed up. It was as though I had spoiled the ending and the entire scene had been pre-written. However, she was followed home by something. She got a box 2 weeks later, left at her building's security desk without her return address or stamps. It contained a Polaroid, a vial of glitter, and a pair of rubber gloves. The image was obscured by black. Nothing visible. Just a caption written by hand. Under red lights, you looked better. There was a gasp in the courtroom. Judge, order. Jennifer attested that the LAPD was notified of the occurrence. The case was filed under untraceable low-grade harassment. However, she was fully aware of what it was. The freak-off room was that one. The illumination. The gloves. There was a message. Prosecutor, did you think you were at risk of dying? Not all the time. However, I felt completely obliterated. They pretended that I did not exist each time I said no. Then she made her last remarks of the day. Hollywood has a misconception that you will be secure if you just put in a lot of effort, be cautious, and smile a lot. That is untrue. Despite my efforts, they still came for me, sheep. Looked straight at the judge's eyes across the room, not at the jurors or the attorneys. The prosecutor's voice was gentler at first. Prosecutor, Lawrence, after Ms. Ventura's legal complaint was made public, did you ever get a chance to talk to Cassie? Jennifer gave a nod. Yes, once, privately. According to her testimony, they unexpectedly met in a studio lot's back corridor. No protection, not a press, only two females who saw something in one another. She remained silent, simply gave me a hug. "Thank you for not asking questions back then," he remarked. I was unable to respond to them. Jennifer acknowledged that she had previously seen Cassie in rooms they were not supposed to be in years prior. Candle-lit rooms, lists in rooms, spaces where people observe. I had no idea what I was looking at back then. However, she did. She continued to smile. That stuck with me forever. Next, the prosecutor presented Exhibit 18I. According to a chain of legal emails, Cassie's legal team had asked for verification of a witness's 2012 letter, long prior to the lawsuit being brought. That letter, Jennifer had folded that one in her lap. She described how it got into the hands of the federal government. During a deposition in a separate contract case, I handed it to my lawyer. After reading it, he said, "Are you prepared for this to continue?" "Yes," I replied. It was presented as evidence that was sealed. The judge herself read it. 6 months have passed since then. It was now open to the public. The last few words were read out loud by Jennifer. "I am not a victim. I am not a product. I am not a secret. I chose myself over your silence if you ever received this letter, and I am no longer your property." She put the paper back in the envelope after folding it. She then said something that was not recorded. Cassie was going through a door that she did not want to open when I first spotted her, and I opened mine because of her. There was utter silence in the courtroom. Then came the day's last bombshell. "Did any member of your previous management team try to sabotage your testimony, prosecutor?" Jennifer made no hesitation. "Yes, I received an email from an old helper 3 weeks ago. We all stand to lose something. It said, 'Do not allow a letter to cost you yours.' The authenticity of the message was verified by the court. Exhibit 18J was introduced into evidence. Jennifer claimed that that night she slept with the letter beneath her pillow. I kept thinking that I had to record my truth somewhere because they had already written my quiet into so many contracts. The world has now heard it." The prosecutor took a step backward. The judge raised his head. "Now I wonder if anyone will take them seriously, and I want them to be aware of it. I think you are real, even if you do not actually say it aloud." Inside the envelope, she grabbed a folded piece of paper. After that evening, this was the final entry I made in my journal. "I got out, but I still have the door inside of me," it stated. The prosecutor gave a nod. The magistrate bent forward, and under oath, Jennifer delivered her last words. "Testifying was never intended for me. I was meant to disappear, gracefully, quietly. They rely on that every time. Not this time, though, because I remain here. The door is now open. At the completion of the court transcript, the witness is discharged." The jury was clearly rattled. No last thoughts. The meeting was adjourned at 4:52 p.m., and since the truth had already leaked, nobody requested that the cameras be allowed inside for the first time in 8 days.